Okay, guys, and we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Stoner podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Patchy Mix leaving PFL and joining the UFC. Of course, Patchy Mix is a bantamweight fighter, obviously come up through Bellator and was a Bellator champion. Beat the guys Bellator had. I wouldn't say a lot of high-level guys. A handful of guys that are maybe UFC level, but majority of them are, way below the level. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And Patchy Mix, he's got a record of, I believe, his record is, let me get it up, it's 20-1, so a really good record for MMA. Notable wins over Sergio Pettis, stopped him, and beat Horiguchi. To be fair, those are the two guys that are UFC level that he's beat. He lost to Juan Archuleta, who's a really decent level guy in terms of outside of UFC talent. Ricky Bandejas he beat. Yeah, the rest of these guys are quite low level, to be honest. But like I said, you can only beat what's in front of you, and he's amassed a record of 20-1. His only loss being to Juan Archuleta, who's, like I said, quite a high level bantamweight outside of the UFC. Probably one of the highest level bantamweights outside of the UFC. Juan Archuleta, Patchy Mix, Horiguchi, these guys. And funny I say that, but Patchy Mix and Horiguchi are now signed to the UFC. They're back in the UFC. Well, Patchy Mix was never in the UFC, but Horiguchi was in the UFC. But this sort of begs the wider question, how would he match up against the top bantamweights? Because I imagine a guy like him will want to sort of come in fighting guys around the top 10, because he was a champion in Bellator. And I don't think he even fought in PFL. He never even fought in PFL. Obviously, the buyout happens, and then he's just been sitting on the sidelines. PFL they have absolutely butchered this merger. Absolutely butchered it. When you're buying a company like Bellator, you're like, okay, Bellator has they do a number of things wrong, but they've got some really big names. In terms of outside of the UFC, they have some of the biggest names in the sport, right? Ryan Bader, Chris Cyborg, a couple of other guys, but those sorts of names. And Chris Cyborg's only fought once in PFL. Ryan Bader, I think, fought once in PFL, once or twice, but he's now left PFL. Patchy Mix was a champion in Bellator. He's now left PFL. But it's an interesting situation, because PFL, you think, why would they even take over Bellator? Like, what's the point? What was the point in taking over Bellator if you're just gonna take their biggest names and just leave them on the sidelines and then just lose them for nothing, right? But Patchy Mix, he seems like a good enough fighter. Like I said, he's not beat a ton of high level guys. Obviously, he's beat Sergio Pettis, Horiguchi, James Gallagher, but he missed weight for that fight. But beat James Gallagher, who's he submitted him. James Gallagher's known for his grappling, so to submit a guy like him who's known for his grappling, that's respectable in my opinion. That is respectable. But we'll see. The bantamweight division is a really good division in the UFC. There's a lot of talent in that top 10. And even in that top 15. You had Jose Aldo, up until recently, was in the top 15. Right? Zahabi, of course, who just beat Aldo. He's in the top 15. Like, there's a lot of tough talent there. And Patchy Mix, he's more of a grappler. He is more of a grappler. Most of his wins have come by submission. So, stylistically, he does cause some issues for some guys. But like I said, you look at the top of the division, you see guys like Figgy, Sandman, Peter Yan, these super, super high level guys. Even as a Harby now is up there, Mario Batista. These guys, they're different level to the guys he's been fighting. Right? Maybe not as a Harby and Batista, but like I said, the Yans, the Figgies, the Sandmans, the Umars, these guys, they're different gravy to the guys he's been fighting. Like, even his best opponent, who is Juan Archuleta, who he lost to, Juan Archuleta isn't on the level of those guys who I mentioned in the UFC top 5 at bantamweight. Horiguchi isn't a top 5 bantamweight. Sergio Pettis certainly isn't a top 5 bantamweight in the UFC either. So, but like I said, you can only beat what's in front of you, and we'll find out if Patchy Mix is one of these fighters that is able to rise to the occasion, or if he, gets his shot at the big time and he can't quite crack it. But we'll soon find out, no doubt. But another huge miss for PFL and a very nice pickup for the UFC. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.